Let me get started, however, with today's show with a story percolating in sports media, in that sports media space, involving two colleagues of mine that I need to address. It started with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark's confrontation the other night, and it's something that we had discussed on Monday's show with Monica McNutt. Well, anyway, Robert Griffin III, RG3 as he's affectionately known, my former co-worker at ESPN, went on his podcast platform and said in the aftermath that it was clear to him that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. Before we go any further, take a listen to what he said exactly.
So why do I think Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark? It could be the fact that Aaliyah Boston had to save Angel Reese from ending her career. This is a still shot. After the foul that Caitlin Clark put on Angel Reese tried to hit her. But if it wasn't for Aaliyah Boston putting her arms in the way, Angel Reese would not be playing basketball anymore because she was going to sucker punch Caitlin Clark. Now, you tell me a time when you've seen somebody get fouled on a basketball court in a professional league where they tried to almost sucker punch somebody that they were friends with because of a hard foul. So where was this type of reaction last year when Angel Reese got chokeslammed by Alyssa Thomas of the Connecticut Sun? Y'all remember that? She got fouled so hard, they kicked Aaliyah Thomas out the game with a flagrant 2 foul. What did Angel Reese do? Nothing. She didn't get up and try to swing on her. You know why? The reaction was different because of who did it. And there is a lot of history there with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. You guys remember last year when Angel Reese celebrated Kennedy Carter getting that flagrant foul on the hip check against Caitlin Clark? You remember that? On the sideline, just, yeah, baby, get her, you get her. Who celebrates like that for a flagrant foul on another player if they don't dislike that player?
I'll get into RG3's assertion about Angel Reese getting ready to sucker punch Caitlin Clark in a second. But first, I wanted to show y'all Ryan Clark's response to what y'all just heard RG3 say. This is on the Pivot Podcast. Take a look at what Ryan Clark's response was.
When RG3 jumps on to the hate train or to the angry train and now follows along with what we saw from Keith Olbermann, what we saw from Dave Portnoy, as they poured on to Angel Reese to make her the villain in Caitlin Clark's heroic or hero story. Right. The one thing we know about RG3 is he's not having conversations at his home about what Black women have to endure in this country, about what young Black women and athletes like Angel Reese have had to deal with being on the opposite side of Caitlin Clark's rise and ascension into stardom. If you're RG3, when is the last time within your household you've had a conversation about what she's dealing with? You haven't been able to do that because in both of your marriages, you've been married to white women. You haven't had opportunities to have those conversations to educate you on what they're feeling, what Black women deal with, what they're seeing when they think of a young Angel Reese. And the whole time that he's mimicking Angel Reese and bobbing his head and moving his neck while he's doing this whole piece, his wife is in the back amening and clapping. And so to me, it's just another situation that now this young lady has to deal with.
Whoa, that's a little bit deep, and I'll get into that as well, because some perceive Ryan Clark to having crossed a line there, especially Mr. RG3 himself, who did not take kindly to what y'all just heard, posting another video in response to RC. Take a look.
But Ryan, you crossed the line, man. You made it personal and some. I really believe there should be no space in sports media for personal attacks. I've said it before. But certainly personal attacks against wife and children have always been off limits. Ryan, you attacked me and my family in a public forum on a level that shows just how low of a human being you are. You can disagree with me all you want. Challenge my takes. but keep my family and my wife out of it. That's a boundary that should always be respected, man. Always. Ryan Clark personally attacking me and my family because he disagreed with my sports opinion is a bad look for ESPN. It's cowardly, it's spineless, and it's weak.
Ooh, I got a problem with the shit that RG3 just said there. And I'll get into that in a second. But not before I read to you what Ryan Clark went right back at him after this and said, quote, bruh, you know what it is with me and you. I saved you the entire season on Monday Night Football. I urged people to let you be you. No matter how corny, how bad a teammate you were, I had your back. You're a phony, bro. One of the worst teammates I ever had, both on the field and in TV. You got to do what you got to do. I didn't attack your wife. I spoke on what you do on social media and TV. Like I said, I met your wife. She seemed like a lovely lady that was worth more than the color of her skin. You be good, bro. All of this has led some to call for Clark's firing. Some of those wondering aloud if Clark would still be employed if called out a white colleague for marrying a black woman. First things first. A couple of things. I don't want to hear shit about Ryan Clark being fired. I don't want to hear that. Ryan Clark is my colleague. He is my friend and brother. He is a good man, and he's a good brother. And there is no way on earth that I would be quiet if he was fired over something like this. I'm not saying he's right, and I'll get into that in a second. But this is not a fireable offense. Now we're going to come back and we're going to bring it home. I don't usually talk about ESPN business, and I'm not about to right now, other than to say RG3 clearly is not liked by Ryan Clark. What Ryan Clark said, that's not something he normally does. Corny, phony, those are the kind of things he said specifically about RG3. That's what he feels. Saving him on Monday Night Football, I assume, and it is an assumption, that he's talking about the shrapnel of criticism that folks tried to throw in RG3's direction that he tried to assist in shielding RG3 from. But nevertheless, there's a lot to get into here. The first order of business to unpack is this. RG3, I'm not as tight with him as I am with Ryan Clark, but I respect RG3. And I do know there's some sensitivities there, dating back to the days of, you know, when he was called the cornball, and obviously by one of our former colleagues, Rob Parker, on national television, and RG3 admitted with his interview of me on his podcast that that's something that has stayed with him all of these years, and he felt that it has served to have damaged him. So there's certainly a heightened level of sensitivity there, and I understand where RG3 is coming from. I don't consider RG3 a bad dude. Again, just because I'm tight with Ryan Clark doesn't mean that I don't respect RG3 and we don't have a cool relationship, because we do. We might have had disagreements over subject matters we discussed in the past. We might have viewed things differently, but I respect RG3. I like him. I appreciated the job that he did on First Take. And personally speaking, I wish he was still at ESPN, which is what I said on this podcast. But what I want to address directly to RG3 is this. Number one, how do you know Angel Reese was going to sucker punch Caitlin Clark? What do you mean we haven't seen stuff like this before? We've seen plenty of times where somebody will get knocked to the ground and then they jump up like they're going to do something and get in one another's face without punches being thrown. You didn't know that Angel Reese was going to sucker punch Caitlin Clark. You have no evidence of that. You could have said it looked that way, but to literally declare that that's what Angel Reese was going to do, that's not factually accurate. So RG3, I think it's important to point that out, because by saying what you said about Angel Reese, that was serving to villainize her in a way that would get a reaction from a black man like Ryan Clark, along with various others, including myself, who didn't want to jump to that conclusion. You are right in terms of, in my opinion, I don't think they particularly like each other. I don't think that Angel Reese likes Caitlin Clark. When you waving a hand in her face when you was beating her for the national title, taunting her. But we have to remember that Caitlin Clark was taunting opponents all the time doing that. So when it was her turn to get her comeuppance, Angel Reese was more than happy to do so when LSU was en route to winning a national title and supplanting Caitlin Clark in Iowa in the process. The very next year, Caitlin Clark came back, and Iowa came back, and they gave it to him. And as a result, LSU went and they fell. In the midst of all of that, it was a tough season because Angel Reese was receiving vitriol from critics out there. And I don't think it was because of basketball. I think it was because of our behavior towards Angel Reese, which may, in some people's eyes, assist to whatever level of dissent she may feel towards Caitlin Clark. That's neither here nor there. My only point is you used the word sucker punch. I thought that was a bit extreme. And I thought that was going to get a bunch of people riled up, particularly black men who are protective of black women. So I saw where Ryan Clark was coming from in refuting that statement, RG3. Now let me get to Ryan Clark. I love my man, RC. I thought he crossed the line when he brought up you, RG3, being married not once but twice to white women. There was no need to go there. But he don't like your ass. That might have had something to do with it. I'm not condoning him doing that. I'm not condoning him bringing that up. If RC rather and I had spoke about it in depth, I would have told him, don't go there. Don't go there. No need for all of that. Okay? But I want to emphasize something here that's very, very important. RG3, he never attacked your wife. He never attacked your family. He was attacking you. And you know it. Now, that don't make it correct, the mentioning of your wife. I'll concede that. He didn't utter a negative syllable about your wife. He never mentioned your children. So when you say attacking your wife and attacking your family, your children, how did he do that? Ryan Clark did not do that. He talked about you and your behavior. He talked about how you lean towards highlighting her ethnicity. I don't know whether it's true or not. I pay no attention to that stuff. But I know what he said. And what he was saying was that. And he was saying she was much more than the color of her skin. He did in no way denigrate your wife. And he never mentioned your children. Not with what I saw. If anybody out there has an additional clip where you can point to RC attacking or denigrating the wife of Robert Griffin III or his children, show it to me. I didn't see that, RG3. I didn't see that. And why am I bringing that up? Because this is where it comes home, meaning to ESPN, where you worked for years. When you sat up there and you said it's a bad look for ESPN, I guess it's within your right to hit back at RC since you felt hit at yourself. But as somebody who works for ESPN, come on, bro. You know that was some slick shit you was doing, right? Because when you said it's a bad look for ESPN, you know that we work at a place where ESPN's going to be like, what's he talking about? What's a bad look for ESPN? You didn't have to go there. That's between you and Ryan. Ryan said that on the pivot. Ryan shows up on Get Up. Ryan shows up on First Take. Ryan shows up on NFL Live. Ryan contributes to Monday Night Football. He never mentioned you on any of those places. Why on his podcast, on a spot that he owns and operates, would you ignore that to bring up ESPN? Because you were trying to get him in trouble with ESPN. You looking to ESPN for help, to try and reprimand him when you should have handled that your own damn self. And I'm talking to you out of respect. I don't hate you, bro. I don't have no any animosity towards you. I said for public consumption. If it was up to me, you'd still be at ESPN. I thought you did a damn good job for various shows. Maybe not Monday Night Football because that's a team. And if y'all had vitriol, which is evidently true, with one another, that's not a pairing that works. I get that part. But there's a multitude of other outlets that you contributed to on ESPN, and I would have been happy to still see you there. Them letting you go, downsizing and all of that stuff, that's above my pay grade. I got nothing to do with that. And I'm not here to question my bosses any more than y'all question them when they let me go in 2009. That's the way it goes sometimes, particularly when you downsizing, monitoring your budget, your expenditures, and you're making decisions as to what's in the best interest and what's not in the best interest of a network. That's business. This with you and Ryan is clearly personal. What you bring ESPN in it for? You trying to get the brother fired? Ain't gonna work. Not if I could help it. Ryan Clark is a hell of a football analyst. He represents our company very, very well. I think he is outstanding. And with all of that I had to say about Ryan Clark as an analyst, it's nothing compared to what I think about him as a man. He is real. He's authentic. He may not always be right. I don't think he was right to bring up your wife at all, in any capacity. But Ryan's a good brother who cares and does far more good than bad. I'm proud to call him a colleague. I'm proud to call him a friend and a brother. And if you're going to go at him, all I'm asking is be accurate. When did he attack your wife? When did he attack your family? And why are you talking about him and then bringing up it's a bad look for ESPN when he said that on the pivot? He didn't say that on ESPN. What you doing that for? If you got a problem with him as a man and you say keep my family out your mouth, roll up on him and tell him. I promise you he won't be hard to find. I promise you that. He will not be hard to find. Now, again, I want to emphasize, you should have never brought up your wife. I would have preferred that he not do that. But he didn't speak against her. And he never mentioned your children that I saw. He mentioned you. He questioned your authenticity, your realness, your genuineness. He was talking about you, bro. You. He was using that as an example to highlight who you are, how you think, and what may shape and formulate your thinking. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to a different subject. And we don't have to go too deep there. I'm a dude who lives and let lives. I think Ryan Clark is too. I think RGIII is too. And you have a lot of people who don't have a problem with interracial relationships at all, and some who do. And maybe they need to be more advanced in their thinking. Live and let live. But it's not foreign. And it's certainly not foreign for somebody to be of the mindset that if you're going home to somebody of a different ethnicity, whether you're white, black, Asian, Hispanic, or anything like that, people accuse one another all the time of being at least somewhat detached from their own community if who you're going home to is not from your community. That doesn't make them accurate. It doesn't make them right. But you know what else it doesn't make them sometimes? Offensive. If he had said something negative about your wife or your children, RG3, I feel you. He was talking about you. And he was talking about the person he sees on social media and a person he has directly worked with to bring ESPN into the equation, to talk about it was a bad look. Seemed to me like you were intentionally looking to the network to get him in trouble instead of dealing with it man to man, you and him. That's my biggest criticism, RG3. Ryan Clark, don't talk about it. Don't even mention his family. Don't even go there. Don't even go there. You don't have to. You bigger than that, which I know you are. And let's move on. It's that simple. People are going to have their beliefs. They're going to have their stigmas. They're going to have their interpretations. It's an opportunity for all of us to educate one another. But what really, really turned me off, when Ryan Clark said, because who you've been married to, I was like, oh, don't like that. Just like when you said Angel Reese was going to sucker punch Caitlin Clark, oh, I don't like that. That's not true. You don't know that. But that last part, when you said it was a bad look for ESPN, Ryan Clark was on the pivot. When I talk about things that I talk about, ESPN is my day job, where I talk about First Take. You yourself, RG3, said you don't like when people bring certain elements to sports television. Now, we disagreed on that, but the bottom line is you were making an argument about what should appear on sports television. Now he did something on his podcast, which wasn't on sports television, but he's Ryan Clark, and he's on his own podcast, and you brought up ESPN. Handle it yourself, bro. Don't look to ESPN to help. He violated nothing for ESPN. He violated nothing. And for those of y'all out there who's trying to sit up there and bring unwanted attention to Ryan Clark in a way that could ultimately compromise his career at ESPN, I'm letting y'all know in advance. You'll have to come through me. I wouldn't be saying this if he said it on ESPN. Because they got a right to police what's on their airwaves. He had a personal opinion about RG3 that wasn't aired on ESPN, that was aired on his own platform, that he has every right to say about RG3. Not about anybody else, meaning the family, his family, but him. And RG3 has every right to respond to him directly without bringing ESPN into it. That's all I'm saying. Ryan Clark need to be gone from ESPN. Y'all can miss me with that shit. Ryan Clark is outstanding. Outstanding. Not perfect, but outstanding nonetheless. Nonetheless. This personal between him and RG3, I hope they work it out. I hope they resolve it. We don't need all that animosity in the world. Because in their own way, albeit different ways, I happen to believe both are good brothers. And I'm proud to know both of them. But I ain't trying to hear anything about people being fired and all that nonsense. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I will raise holy hell over something like this leading to somebody's loss of a job. I haven't heard anything like that. I can't imagine that would happen. I'm not trying to imply that I know something that I don't know, because I haven't even talked to the ESPN about it. I'm just talking on behalf of two brothers that I know. I think they were both right, and I think they were both wrong in certain respects, which I just articulated. But miss me with all of this hoopla about Ryan Clark needing to lose his job. Y'all crossing the damn line on that. I'm not going to sit idly by over something like this. Hell no. Hell no.